Welcome back to Doc Shows You How. This time on my Star Pours series, we're making a Jacked Rotta from a $5 thrift store Hulk. So we're just going to start processing that. Hey, I want to thank those of you that engaged with the community post earlier, giving me a guess on what I'm making this week. It is not exactly a unclean one, but sorta. And then, so when I first saw that trailer, the first trailer, and saw the huge battle-ready tank of a hut, I was like, oh man, I gotta get that. So I kept an eye out, found a Hulk at a thrift store, and then I sat on this until last week when I saw the most recent trailer, and oh man, battle-axes? A hut with battle-axes? Oh my, that's amazing! And so I decided, yeah, I gotta get this going. And we're just going to bulk out some of the understructure here with aluminum foil and a little bit of cardboard. No reason to waste a lot of clay there. Now, I've been wondering for a long time, what if we had an athlete version of a hut? Now, we saw Jabba back in the day, and he was just this literal Slavic big belly thing. And I was kind of like, what if he was cut? How threatening is this giant slug going to be if it can move? If it can, as we see in the trailer, swing an axe. And I'm really excited to see what we might get there. And I'm pretty happy overall with where we're going. I kind of even imagine that Dave Filoni and Favreau are sitting there in the meeting talking about it, and they're excited like little kids. Hey man, what if we make a hut, a gladiator? It seems like a fantastic thing here. So this foam clay, I'm gonna have to tell you about this foam clay. It does not sculpt, repeat, does not sculpt like clay, and it gave me a couple of problems you'll see here as we get towards the end. But it's a fantastic material, it's a wonderful thing for cosplay. I happen to have some on hand. It's not super expensive and is certainly worth playing with here. It takes some detail pretty good here, but on the drawing process, it kind of decides to do some different things here, and you'll see what I mean in a little bit. So we're just kind of throwing in some texture here and there. I'm going to start bulking out that head here. Everything held together a little bit with that hot glue just to hold it in place as I get the clay and stuff on it here. I thought it might be good to have a lip in the understructure. Now I did have a couple of these eyes on hand. I'm just going to glue that to a craft stick here to keep those on level and kind of give an impression of an underskull and get that tacked on. Now, this video is a departure from my normal kind of video where I'm making terrain for tabletop gaming, such as Star Wars Legion, 40K, and those things here. If you want to see me do more action figure type modifications and custom stuff here, comment below, let me know. I'd be glad to do some of that. It's certainly something I enjoy doing, and I kind of felt like this is clearly before Hasbro's going to have a chance to get this out and show us what it looks like here. And I feel like my price point on that is definitely in the vein of my Star Pours concept here. $5 to make a in-scale hut for that 3 3/4 size action figure, that classic line action figure, is kind of fantastic. And so you see here some of the detail I put in that didn't hold. The foam kind of popped back out as it dried. Let's get going on those hands here. I did keep a hold of one of the fists from the Hulk, just kind of a size reference. Now, Jabba the Hutt toys end up being kind of expensive, so I expect that the Rotta figure that we're going to get here as we get closer to the release date of Mandalorian and Grogu, it's not going to be cheap. I expect it to be $40, $50 or more, depending on if they decide to do one at the 6-inch scale versus that 3 3/4 or not. And I kind of even have noticed that some figures that we might want, they never make. Like, I would gladly have purchased the Gamorrean guards from the Book of Boba Fett. They never made them, so I'm going to have to make them myself. And I have picked up some regular size Hulk figures, that 3 3/4 size, to do that with, and just haven't got around to that yet. If you would like to see that, maybe comment below, Piggy Boys, I know what you mean, and I definitely get that going. So here, as that piece dried, it pulled away on some of the thinner spots, so just got to go through and patch that up. Rotta! So we're going to go ahead and mix up a base coat here. This is that old Black Magic Craft kind of detail here. He uses black paint to get that base coat, and since we're doing a pale guy here, I figured let's start with a flesh color. Just kind of get a oppressive layer on there so that we get all those dark greens and blacks covered up here. Now to get that to stick on that smooth plastic, now earlier I did sand all of it, but I'm just stippling that on with a sponge here. And just periodically make sure everything still moves. And I'm getting that next layer, that next base layer on with a beautiful green here. And of course there's some other subtle colors I add throughout the paint job here. I'm not sure I show all of those. And then kind of bring that down to the face. Kind of add some depth there. I'm almost done there. We're going to move on to the axes. Just kind of hack out the design there on a paper, get a pattern there. And then I'm making 4 of these out of foam core board so that I can do the big old axe, get that trimming going. I thought those looked like animals. So yeah, see, that's going to fit well on that chopstick I used for the axe head, or handle, excuse me. Yeah, looks like some sort of badger mole or something. Now we're gonna do the watermark line. That's gonna be where the sharp edge of the axe is. We just trim down that foam to get that angle on there, make it look all dangerous. And then with an emery board here, we're just gonna sand that, make it a little bit more smooth. It doesn't have to be perfect, of course, because these have been in battle. And then these are a Vibro-Axe, so I'm going to imply the mechanical function here with the little grippy part on a bendy straw. Just kind of make it look like something functions in there. And this time we're going to use super glue because it's not hitting the foam. And then I used that pattern that I had before to kind of make this cowling piece out of cereal box cardboard. I shaped that around an extra popsicle stick here and get that glued on. And again, we're not touching the foam, so we can use super glue on that too. And then slide that off, put that on the one in the Hutt hand, and glue that in place. There's kind of a hammer thing on the back of that axe. I'm just going to knock that out real quick with a wooden thumbtack here and just trim off that and get that glued in place. I did use a little bit of super glue and baking soda, just kind of fill the gap a little bit there. Gotta trim that down to a nice spiky piece there. Painting's super easy on that axe. We're gonna do a base coat of black. We're gonna do a dark gunmetal, just kind of stipple that on there. And then once we've got a base coat of that, we're gonna go in with a bright silver and make that blade look dangerous. And then just a little bit of dry brushing and edge highlighting around the corners. And there we are, more or less done. Let's get a vintage figure in there. There you go. Scale looks pretty spot on. Let's get to the glamour shots. Now, I will admit, I know this doesn't look right. I will probably be revisiting this project when I get better images. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I've been Doc. You've been amazing. Have a great day.